All right. So Alabama has now made research grade peptides illegal. Um, Not because a whole lot of people have died, not because a whole lot of people have gotten sick, not because a whole lot of people have gotten scammed. There's been no problems. There's been no reported problems with these. They've been, suspected like, oh, it's going to be terrible. But we've seen no deaths. We've seen no illness. We've seen no horrible, terrible things. However, Alabama decided that they should make research grade peptides illegal because, again, our government believes they own your body. They believe that they have the right to tell you what you can and can't put into it. And as COVID showed us, they believe they have the right to tell you what you have to put in your body. Whatever they want to force in your body, they have the right to force in your body because they own your body. If they didn't own your body, they couldn't tell you what you can, can't, and must put in it. So that's what the actual crux of this issue is. This is entirely a medical freedom issue. This is entirely a who owns my body issue. But in Alabama, they have decided the government owns your body, not you, because you cannot choose what products you put in your body because they have decided that they're going to decide what is safe and best for your health. The reality of this is what actually has happened is that people have started using research grade peptides. They started getting significant health benefits because peptides, for a lot of the peptides we're using, have a massive control over metabolic function. The fact that our medical system has done everything they can to lie and manipulate and not allow people to understand metabolic function, again, why they teach calories, which is also why they said that, oh, everybody should eat, high carbohydrate, high sugar, low protein, low fat stuff, because that's what's healthy, which is we knew at the time it wasn't. And now they're pushing this big push against saturated fat, which most of your cells are made out of. And they push this thing about cholesterol because, the amount of cholesterol you have, that's what's going to cause your heart attacks, even though we have no actual science proving that and a ton of science proving that it's damage to the cholesterol, not the fact that you have cholesterol, because that's how they've shaped everything. So now when we start using peptides to fix our metabolic function, increase ATP production, increase mitochondrial health, decrease insulin resistance, and we're starting to get significantly healthier. Now, all of a sudden, the government comes in and goes, oh, you can't do that. You can't be taking money out of pharma's profit pockets. Because again, what happens is that pharma makes a little bit less money, has a little bit less power. And so then they fire up their lobbying arm. Their lobbying arm goes to the politician and goes, hey, you've got to protect our profits or else we're not going to give you any more money. And so you're not going to win next time. And so that's actually what's going on. It's not because they're protecting people from any dangerous peptides or any horrible, terrible things. It's entirely because their entire goal is to protect the medical establishment and pharma. That's it. That's the entirety of what this problem is actually about. So when we start looking at this type of stuff, this is one of those things where you kind of have to look at it and go, what's best for me and for my family? Is it that the government has complete control over our bodies, no matter what they say and do, they get to run the show? Or is it, no, Alabama and every other state, we own our bodies. We get to decide what goes in it and what doesn't. So right now, just look at the way they've got it set up right now. Right now, you have to go to a government representative, someone who's given authority licensing by the state and by the federal government, to beg them for permission slips to purchase the medications you need. You need antibiotic eardrops? You have to go to a doctor and get a prescription, a permission slip to look at the prescriptions as permission slips to have that stuff, to then go buy the antibiotic eardrops you knew you needed in the first place. Because maybe you've gotten an ear infection before, or eye drops, or you need an antifungal, or, we had to pass legislation to allow us to buy ivermectin over the counter. This is where we're at. Like, your government's like, no, you can't even purchase the things that you need to keep yourself healthy without permission from the government. That's where we've allowed this to go. So don't expect, my state won't do this. Your state 100% will do this. Our state, Texas, tried to ban Delta 8 and say it was horrible and terrible. No deaths, no downsides. I did a TED talk about replacing opioids with it, with cannabis and Delta 8, and it's worked phenomenally. The reason that Texas decided to try to ban Delta 8 was because alcohol sales dropped. And guess who the big donors to Dan Patrick are? Alcohol guys. So that's where that one came in. So this is none of this stuff. Don't let them lie to you and gaslight you that this is for your safety, or this is for, the people's safety. It's not. It's about safety and protecting profits. That's entirely what it is. We all need to start pushing back against this stuff. We all need to be like, no, we're done with this. We're not going to let you guys tell us what we have to put in our bodies, and we're not going to let you guys tell us what we can't put in our bodies. The amount of unbelievable things that we've been able to see with these peptides, endometriosis, PCOS, we've seen depression, we've seen, all sorts of, sleep apnea, we've seen, epilepsy, we've seen all kinds of things just disappear while we're taking these things in like 2 or 3 months in. But that's not what our government's worried about. Our government's worried about losing profits because they don't care if you're healthy. In fact, they don't want you healthy, which is why the FDA comes out and gives you lie after lie after lie after lie after lie about what is good for you and what is not good for you, because they want you sick, not dead, just sick enough where you have to be on 3 or 4 medications for the next 20 years so the pharma can make their money. And then the pharma can then lobby and give the politicians their money. That's the entire system. That's it. So when you guys are going to vote, when you guys are talking to these people, understand where we're at and realize that this is where it's been the entire time. This is why they made testosterone so illegal. Testosterone is still as illegal as cocaine, because if you look at what testosterone does in the body, which is it's not a drug, it is a naturally occurring critical nutrient that helps prevent erectile dysfunction. Yeah, because Viagra doesn't make any money. It helps with depression, because that's how our eyes don't make any money. It helps with fat loss, because that's not $1 billion industry. It helps with erection function. It helps with not even just the ED, but the actual function. It helps with mental clarity, energy, all kinds of things, because it's a critical nutrient. And yet the government's been like, nope, can't have that, because if you don't have that, you're going to go buy a bunch of drugs. And so that's where we're at. So if everyone's like, well, what's going on? Why are they making peptides legal? This is why. So anyway, talk to your congressman, talk to your elected officials, and tell them that, we do not want our governments deciding that they own our bodies, and they need to back off making things like research grade peptides illegal. Even if you don't think people should be using them, we need to start pushing back and being like, no. Even if you think it's a bad decision, be like, we need to allow people to make bad decisions, because the government doesn't need to be our nanny, and definitely doesn't need to have the dictatorial power to tell us what we have to put in our bodies and what we can't, because they've been lying to us pretty much with everything they've said for the past 50 years. So if you guys have any questions, hit us up. Anyway, have a fantastic day.